Hi everyone, Raj Gavrilo. Welcome to Experiencing Innovation and Entrepreneurial Leadership. This week, I'll be discussing 7 strategies to solve a performance gap. This can be your development and growth performance gap or one for your client. And today I'll talk about the first strategy. The first strategy is identify and improve the performance gap. As an innovator, as an entrepreneur, you have a lot of creative, innovative ideas that come to you. Now, depending upon how skilled you are, where you are in your business, whether you're pivoting or you're growing or you're creating another business, you're a serial entrepreneur, whatever it may be, you'll have all these ideas. The key is being able to know when those ideas are ripe for implementation. And not only implementation, but just for analysis or to consider and to implement them. And sometimes they're spontaneous. They don't need to have a big meeting or a discussion or really even a review. It just makes sense to do it, and it's just obvious that that's the right idea. Now, this is not obviously a big idea that does that, but it is an idea. However, for those ideas that seem more larger or bigger, that aren't just spontaneous ideas that can implement, that can solve a situation, create a solution, what you want to do is identify and prove a performance gap. So in other words, you have this creative, innovative idea. What will this idea, service, product, whatever it may be, what will it do to take someone from here to over here? There's that gap in between, right? And so your solution is going to interconnect this gap, or it's going to close the gap. So this is one side, here's the other. It's going to close it so that the gap doesn't exist. You solve the gap. And so you want to identify the gap, and then you want to prove the gap. First of all, you want to identify the gap. That this gap can come, and creative, innovative idea can come in lots of ways. Maybe you saw a service, maybe you experienced something that made you think of adding a little something to it to create more value, or it made you think of a new service or product ad, or it maybe you experienced some kind of a problem or difficulty and you just wish that there should be a solution for this, and there's not. And so you want to go and you want to look into it. And so that's very commendable of you. And that's what innovators and entrepreneurs do. And so you want to identify, though, what that gap is. What exactly is that gap? And when you identify that gap, who are the people involved on an individual level, as a human, as a team, if you think that there'd be a team involved with it, or an organization, if it's an organization, and then of course, what's the gap in society or in the community or in the industry that it's in. So you want to be able to identify that gap and how it affects each one of those areas. And I know from graduate school, my professor, and even before that when I was working, we always did things and we're always basically solving a performance gap for a client or internally. As an engineer, one of the things that we did is, I didn't really have much say so in it, but my supervisor did, is put in ISO 9000. And I'm sure my engineering manager had something to do with that as well. And that really reduced a lot of errors and gave more of a process to follow. However, there's also the side in which you need to, in order to identify this gap, talk with some people about what kind of issue or problem or challenge this gap is causing. And that way you can get better feel for what the benefits would be of solving this gap, performance gap. Also, what you can do is look at it from a team aspect. Is there some communication that needs to take place that's not taking place? I mean, that's really important. And is there some learning from each other that's just not happening because someone's hoarding knowledge or information that they shouldn't be doing, or if they should, or they just don't know that they're doing it. Sometimes people do that on a team because they feel that they have more value if they only know the knowledge. And so look at your organization, see if your policies or a process or something that you're doing is creating these types of barriers. Because those just two very helpful areas, and they can get more involved depending upon the type of intervention needed. However, when we start to talk about the bigger picture, and we're starting to talk about the outcomes and then how to have others benefit from this more and more, well, once it starts to become to where it's affecting more and more people, you want to be able to prove that gap. Prove the gap. Because by proving the gap, then you'll have the backing that you need for consideration to go to the strategies 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And so in my consulting and coaching, this is part of the first step that I do with clients is I come and do research and do observations, and from my research and observations and my experiences and expertise, I can help them working with their team and helping their team and their team helping me, and giving them a structure so that they know what to look for and what we're looking at. That this can save a lot of time, can save a lot of money, because it gives you a conscious method of measuring what value this can be. Because if you prove the gap and it does exist, but you don't see the benefits that you would get from solving it being greater than the cost, then you wouldn't do it. And then if you prove the gap and you do see the benefits and they are greater than the cost, then you can put some contingencies in there and really see how you can benefit, and possibly a way to scale this. Because if you can prove it in this one department or area of the company or your organization, then or you individually in your development and growth, well, then it might be used then or adapted to another area, or to another department, or to another area of your development and growth. And so it's a tool that has multi-use potentially. And so these are the kind of things that you start to look at, and this will help you to fledge out those ideas in your mind that are stopping you or creating too much of thinking in your mind, because you have so many ideas that your brain doesn't know which one to work on. You wish you could work on all of them. But the reality is you can't, first of all. Or if you can, I mean, I don't like to say you can, because obviously something positive, somebody will prove me wrong. I mean, anything positive, if you can do it, you can do it. But from what I see, you'd need a team, or you need somebody else to assist you in handling all those different ideas. And so we need to let those ideas nurture, and when they're ripe, that's when we can apply them or use them. Or they might be there in our mind for years, but the timing's just not right. And when it is right, then it comes through. And so that's what I have for you today, is to identify and prove the gap to solve a performance gap. That's strategy one. What's an example? Well, an example of just the individual development and growth, and for team development and growth, is I'm a referee, and I was refereeing soccer. And it's competitive, and obviously both teams want to win. And I inform them that both teams do win, one team just wins more. And that's really the way I look at it. I don't look at it, and I educate them that way. I don't look at it as one team wins and one team loses. I think both teams win. There's other teams that wanted to play that aren't playing, and one team just wins more. However, because of lots of factors, whether it's they're not as skilled. Some players get frustrated. They lose control of their emotion, their thinking, whatever it may be, adrenaline, how they respond to things, how they respond to stress, how they respond to different moments in the game, what's happening in the game. Sometimes they can get frustrated and take it out on someone. And so what I've been doing now is, of course, I know the rules. They don't need to know all the rules. They're the players, but they need to know the rules that matter to them. And so what I do is I educate them about that. And what this simply means is I just literally talk with the captain before the game on each team and just explain to them that there's no sliding in this league. If you slide, you get a yellow card. They basically say, yeah, we got that, because they know that that's going to happen. However, one of the things that I've done to clean up play and just to make it more fun and enjoyable, and really that's what they all want to, and they want to play better soccer, is to tell them and inform them that if there's any kind of back and forth between players, then I can send them to the sideline for 3 minutes to calm down, and there'll be a player down. And ever since I started to tell them that, I really think that they've had a lot of appreciative, and they've been very pleased with that, because really, I don't think anyone likes the back and forth. It takes away from the game. It takes away from the time. They're all out there to play soccer and and they want to win. There's no doubt about that. But they're also out there to have fun and enjoyment doing so. And we want to have player safety and people not be injured, and just make it a fun experience and an exciting experience for them. And so that was my zone effect for this week, was simply being able to go to a team ahead of time instead of them knowing the rules, just to let them know right before the game what's going to happen, and to just inform them again, just so they get a mental picture in their mind of what will happen. And it's worked. I've had no issues whatsoever. And I really think that they have gratitude and appreciation for that. I really do. And this is something that to me is just sportsmanship. It's just the right way to play the game, win the right way. Why wouldn't you want to win the right way? But I think because of different skill levels, and because they get frustrated because something doesn't happen, because they don't have the skill that they need, people respond differently. And so think about this for you in your individual development and growth. Also think about this on your team. If you're on a team, that communication that's occurring between you all. Sure, you can say, oh, no, we all know each other. We crack jokes, and, we smile at each other, and, we get along and all that. But hey, I'm telling you, when you have just the ability to learn from each other and to apply that learning, and you know how to do that with one another, besides just putting each other on the spot, but being educative. And sure, it might take a little longer, but it's the difference between someone knowing why they're doing something and what to do and how to do it versus them just knowing what to do. And that's education and being educative about it. Because as you both progress and you move forward in life, when you get more responsibility, or I won't say more responsibility necessarily, but just develop your skill set, grow your skill set, you'll realize that these kind of skills are more and more of what's needed in achieving what it is that you want to achieve. I hope you have a meaningful trigger for tonight. Tonight, I am have an open evening. So I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to be doing. I have an open evening, so I'm looking forward to that. And sometimes in the week, you've got to have these evenings where it's just open, to where there's no set schedule. I might watch a movie. I don't know exactly what I'll do, but it's sort of nice to know that I have this tonight. If you found something here helpful or meaningful to you, it resonated with you, you can contact me at 864-569-2315, or you can email me at raj@rajgavrola.com.